Hey guys, today we'll be doing an overdrive shootout. Yes, overdrives are my favorite type of guitar pedals. I just find that they have so much variety, and the different types of circuits that they use can impart. I mean, I prefer them to distortion and fuzz personally because I feel like distortion and fuzz are kind of, they're not very versatile. Whereas overdrives, they just come in so many different types and flavors, and they can be so versatile, some of them at least. And I guess I can say I'm a little bit of an overdrive collector because I've used many overdrives in the past. And here I have 5 different overdrive pedals. Like for every other pedal, like my delay and reverb and everything else, I just have 1 pedal of each. But for overdrives, I have 5 different types of pedals right here. And I want to kind of compare them because all of them are sort of different in their own little way. All of them have their own unique takes on famous circuits and their own character, I would say. So I want to do a shootout between all 5 of these as well. Another thing I like about overdrives is that you can kind of stack a lot of them as well. With distortions and fuzzes, you can't really stack them because they just overwhelm the signal. But with overdrives, they're unique enough that a lot of them are transparent and you can actually stack a lot of overdrives. So that's what I prefer about overdrives. I think overdrives are probably my favorite type of guitar pedal, and there's so many different flavors of them. So let's go over each one. Okay, so let's start from the left first. So yeah, I have the Maxon TOD9 True Tube Overdrive. So Maxon, for those of you who don't know, is the original manufacturer of the Tube Screamer, the Ibanez Tube Screamer. So they were labeled and branded Ibanez, but they were actually made by Maxon back in the 1980s. So Maxon is the original manufacturer of the Ibanez Tube Screamer. And since Ibanez and Maxon sort of went their own ways in the early 2000s, Maxon has been making their own Tube Screamer pedals. Their most famous pedals probably the OD808 and the OD9. So the TOD9 is, I mean, as the name suggests, it is an OD9, which is basically a TS9. That's Maxon's version of the TS9, which is the original TS9, basically from the 80s, and they add an extra tube stage onto it, so that's what the TOD9 means, and yeah, that's where they get the name, True Tube Overdrive. So they take the OD9 circuit and they add a tube stage onto it. So basically this overdrive pedal is your classic Tube Screamer type effect. Actually, with the tube knob turned all the way down, you basically get an OD9, which is a very recognizable type of circuit. A lot of pedals are built off of the OD808 or the OD9, essentially. The Tube Screamer classic sound. So yeah, you have 4 knobs. You have a drive knob, level knob, tone knob, which are the 3 classic knobs used in most Tube Screamers, and then you have this additional tube knob, which will add more and more of the tube stage to the output and signal. So that's pretty cool. I've had this pedal for a few years now. I also had the predecessor of this pedal. Actually, I had the other version of this pedal, which is the TB09, and that one was a bit different, but similar. It's a similar format, and it also uses a tube, but it's a little bit more transparent and focused more on a clean boost, I would say. This one is more of a classic Tube Screamer circuit, but with an added tube stage. So this is basically my Tube Screamer type pedal. There's been lots and lots of variations on the Tube Screamer. It's probably the most widely copied overdrive circuit out of all these. But yeah, I have the Maxon TOD9. Maxon is the original manufacturer of the Tube Screamer, so I like that. Yeah, that this overdrive really is almost the original Tube Screamer if I want it to be, and then it adds an extra tube stage, and it's also it's made in Japan, so that's a nice little extra as well. All these other pedals actually are made in I think most of them are made in America actually. So yeah, this one's made in Japan, which is pretty cool. Maxon is a Japanese company, of course. And yeah, they use a military sub-miniature tube right there for the tube stage. This pedal is also the most expensive out of all these pedals. This one cost originally $250 US. I mean, I got it cheaper than that because I got it used. But yeah, $250 is the MSRP of this pedal, so it's probably by far the most expensive pedal in this chain. So yeah, that's the Maxon TOD9, my Tube Screamer type pedal. Next up we have the Full Tone OCD, and this is a very famous pedal as well. The OCD is a full range overdrive, which means that, so the Tube Screamer will give you basically a mid-range boost. The mid-range is very prominent in a Tube Screamer circuit, whereas the full range overdrive means that it can cover everything from a soft type of overdrive to distortion to almost fuzz-like, I would say, if you turn everything up. So the full tone OCD is very famous for that, for having a lot of range. And other types of really famous rangy pedals would be like the Blues Driver from Boss and the Keeley Super Fat Mod. You know, the other ones I looked at. But the full tone OCD probably one of the most famous types of this full range overdrive type. So yeah, 3 knobs: volume, overdrive, and tone. So just 3 knobs here, but then you have a switch from LP to HP. So I guess the HP is a little bit more higher gain than the LP is. And yeah, this is made in the USA because Full Tone is a boutique pedal company. But despite it being a boutique pedal, it's not that expensive as like other boutique pedals. It's only 130 bucks. So it's, yeah, it's fairly cheap, I would say. And then yeah, it's made in the USA. Yeah, in California actually. It's pretty cool. So yeah, it's a Full Tone OCD. This is a very famous type of overdrive, full range overdrive pedal. Next we have the Wampler Euphoria. So the Euphoria is a very versatile pedal, probably the most versatile pedal on this board. And there's 4 knobs here and another switch. So you have tone, bass, which actually adds bass. This is not how much bass is actually in the signal, this is how much bass you're adding. Volume and gain, and then you have a switch from crunch, open, and smooth. So yeah, the Euphoria is a very interesting pedal because in the smooth position, it actually is sort of like a D pedal. A D-type pedal is one that's kind of based on a dumble. So there's been a lot of dumble pedals now these days. There's the MXR Shinjuku Drive, the J-Rocket The Dude, the Vertex Steel String Singer, obviously the Hermida Zen Drive was the original one. So there's a lot of pedals out there that, yeah, that mimic the dumble sound. So the Euphoria is one of them, but only on the smooth setting. In the open and crunch setting, it actually gets even more raw and adds even more gain. So that's what makes this overdrive really versatile. So if I want to get that, you know, that dumble sound, the Robin Ford, Larry Carlton type tone, I can do it with the smooth setting. So now it's a D-type overdrive. But then if I want some more gain, open and crunch can do it as well. And that will get me maybe closer to the territories of, I want to say like a Marshall Plexi. I think the OCD can actually get closer to a Marshall Plexi in terms of the distortion. But I can probably get some closer tones to say that of Eric Johnson, right? With the Hermida Overdrive would be the closest. And the MXR FET driver, I can probably get some tones close to that with the open and crunch settings. So this is a very, very versatile pedal. And it's called a transparent overdrive because it actually doesn't add much to the mids. So it tries to keep the mids unboosted, so it's relatively transparent. And this pedal is fairly expensive. It's 200 bucks. Again, handmade in America. Wampler is actually one of my favorite pedal companies. Brian Wampler designs all these circuits. Pretty nice. So yeah, it's a D-type pedal, dumble type pedal, but it's got additional flavors onto it, which makes this very versatile. And then I have another Wampler pedal here. I have the Wampler Tumnus, which is a K-type overdrive. K-type overdrives stand for Klon Centaur type overdrive. So Klon Centaur is a very famous overdrive circuit, and it's very expensive to actually get a real Klon Centaur. So many people have made clones of it essentially. So there's like the Electro Harmonic Soul Food, the Keeley Oxblood, which I've owned before, which is a little bit more than just a Klon. And J-Rocket Archer is probably one of the most famous. So yeah, MXR Sugar Drive, I think. So there's a lot of different types of Klon pedals, but the Wampler Tumnus I think is one of the best. They also have the Tumnus Deluxe, which will add even more versatility. But this is the original Tumnus, and it's a small pedal, it's a mini pedal. It's got 3 knobs, gain, volume, treble, and it does what it's supposed to do. It's a Klon circuit. So a Klon circuit is supposed to be reasonably transparent, not super transparent. I don't think it's as transparent as say the Timmy or the Euphoria, but it will add a little bit of mid-range shelving. But overall, I'd say it's very stackable. So Klon is a very stackable overdrive circuit, so that's really nice. And yeah, it will add a lot of girth, I think, to the sound. So that's why I like to have like at least one Klon type of pedal in my chain. And this one is about 150 bucks, I believe. Also made in America, of course. And then the MXR Timmy is the last one. So the Timmy's an interesting overdrive. I just picked this one up not too long ago. The Timmy pedal was originally a boutique pedal made by Paul Cochrane, who is the builder of that, and he he wasn't like a mass production shop or anything like that, so he didn't build too many of them. But then he teamed up with MXR, who's a very MXR is a very big pedal company, so then they can kind of mass produce these pedals. And this is supposed to be the same circuit as a Timmy, I guess, using a similar type of chip in it. So yeah, also Timmy is a very versatile pedal. I think this is supposed to be one of the most transparent pedals in terms of overdrives. It's one of the most transparent overdrives. Might be comparable to the Euphoria, I would think. Maybe the Wampler Tumnus might be a little bit less transparent, but it should be maybe comparable to the Euphoria in terms of letting your original guitar tone through, relatively uncolored. But yeah, it's got 4 knobs: bass, gain, volume, and treble. So there's a lot of adjustability here, and it's got a switch here for gain, clip, and bass. So it's got 3 settings here. So it's still pretty versatile, very versatile pedal actually. And yeah, I actually wonder how this compares to my Wampler Euphoria. So this is not exactly a Dumble type of overdrive like the Euphoria is. It's kind of its own thing. It might be actually somewhere between the Dumble and the Klon, maybe. So that's what I'm thinking. But I'll have to try the Timmy out. This is also one of the cheapest pedals on this board. It's a mini pedal, and it's about as cheap as the OCD. So same price, 130 bucks. Of course, MXR is a big pedal company, whereas these guys are not as big as MXR. So yeah, it'd be interesting to try this one out. The MXR Timmy. So MXR has been making a lot of cool pedals actually. They make a lot of collaboration pedals. They make some with they made the Shinjuku Drive, which is a double type of pedal. They make the El Diavolo Overdrive. So these are all like pedals they made in collaboration with other pedal builders. So the MXR Timmy is one of the results of that effort. So yeah, and that's pretty much it. That's the 5 overdrives here. They all have their own sort of characteristics, and that's what I like about overdrive pedals, is that they're all unique. They all have their own coloring. Yeah, so I'm going to try all of them out. So again, first the Maxon TOD9 tube screamer type circuit with a tube stage added. Again, many variations of the tube screamer circuit. You can find a tube screamer pedal for pretty much all these manufacturers out there. All of them have one. And then the OCD, which is a full range overdrive, and then the Wampler Euphoria, which is a Dumble type overdrive with more versatility added. Then the Wampler Tumnus, which is a Klon type overdrive, and then the MXR Timmy, which is a transparent type of overdrive. But I guess it's also very versatile as well, so you can adjust it a lot. So yeah, let's test all these overdrives. Let's do an overdrive shootout and compare the tones. Alright, so right now I have my Duesenberg Alliance plugged into my Milkman 1 Plus. My Duesenberg has a P90 in the neck and a mini humbucker in the bridge. And my Milkman is basically a Fender type of amp. So it's a very clean sounding amp. That's what it sounds like. I got both pickups on right now, male position. So yeah, that's the sound of just my guitar plugged straight into the amp, and all these pedals are true bypass, I believe. Well, actually, I don't think the Tumnus is, because the Klon actually originally was a buffered bypass. But the rest of them, I think, are true bypass. Actually, not sure about the OCD either, but they should be. So yeah, let's go in the order I talked about them. So let's go with the Maxon first. Again, if I turn the tube down, you're just going to get a straight OD9 circuit, which is very similar to an Ibanez Tube Screamer TS9, which everyone should be familiar with. That's a classic Tube Screamer sound. So turn this on. So that's it'll add a lot of grit. You'll see like a lot of mid-range in the sound, because that's what the Tube Screamer does best. It pushes the mid-range so that you cut through the mix. a lot of different records. Just for the solos mostly. It's a really nice pedal to cut through the mix, but always nice to have a tube screamer type pedal. And now if we add the tube in, so we add the tube stage in, so it sounds like I got all the pickups turned on right now. Neck pickup. Yeah, I think the Maxon sounds pretty nice. It's really nice pedal to cut through the mix. So yeah, once you add the tube control in, you can hear that characteristic tube compression and sag. So I can put up, let's keep the level the same. Actually, I don't want to be too loud. I can turn up the tone more. You turn up the drive and the tube control. You see how it's pretty dynamic, touch responsive. Alright, so that's pretty close to full gain. I don't want to be too loud, but yes. That's a tube screamer type sound, the TS type overdrive. Really, really good for cutting through a mix, for solos and stuff like that. It's a famous overdrive circuit. You've heard it on countless records. Famously, I think the most famous user of a tube screamer is Stevie Ray Vaughan, but you know, there's been many, many others. Next up is the full tone OCD, which honestly I think will sound almost like a distortion because it is a hard clipping pedal. So hard clipper, usually overdrives are soft clippers, but this is a hard clipper pedal. It can go all the way to near fuzz territory, honestly. So both pickups on right now. Right, neck pickup. On the LP setting. If we take it up to the HP setting, it'll be a little bit higher gain, I think. Pickups on. Turn it up too loud, but tone and driver turn up louder. this pedal has the most gain on tap out of all these pedals, even compared to the Tube Screamer, which is a pretty loud pedal, right once you turn everything up. But the OCD has the most gain on tap. It's a full range overdrive. Full range basically, yeah, like I said, goes all the way from a mild type of overdrive to full-on distortion and near fuzz territory. So yeah, this one definitely, I would think this overdrive probably is the least stackable because it basically just takes over the signal chain once you turn it on. But then it's also fairly versatile as well. Like yeah, it's a fairly versatile pedal because like if you want a pedal that can be overdrive but also cover some shades of distortion and a little bit of light fuzz, then the OCD can do it, right? So none of these other pedals, if I wanted to say like play Black Sabbath or something like that, none of these other pedals can probably do that except for the OCD. The OCD is probably the only one that can even come close to doing some Black Sabbath type stuff or Deep Purple or things like that. So yeah, very versatile pedal, the most gain on tap for sure. So that's the Photon OCD. Next up is the Wampler Euphoria. So a lot of settings to test out with this one. So let's do with everything. Have bass right here, because yeah, bass is additive, so I don't want to put out too much. So here's the Euphoria. Both pickups on. Pickup. So right now that is the smooth setting. If I do open setting, a little bit more gain here. Both pickups. Next pickup. Bridge pickup. So that is the open setting. Will give you a little bit more gain. The crunch setting will probably give you the most. Both pickups on. New pickup. Bridge pickup. Okay. Again, it's very dynamic and touch responsive. It's going to be pretty loud. And sure, let's turn up the tone and the gain, the bass. Now it kind of gets into the Overdrive MXR FET driver territory, which is kind of like a Chandler tube driver now. So yeah, gives you more gain. Yeah, it'll get you into the Chandler tube driver territory, basically, the Eric Johnson type of tones. Smooth, actually. Let's try. That's Euphoria. Actually, it can get pretty loud. Euphoria is so versatile. I think it's. I know I said the OCD is versatile, and actually most of these pedals here are versatile, but the Euphoria can also get pretty high gain as well, but not as much as the full tone. So the full tone will get the most gain out of all these pedals, and then probably the Euphoria would come next. I think it might be getting more gain than the Maxon, actually. Yeah, because the Euphoria, if you put it into crunch mode and you turn the gain everything up, I think it'll actually get more gain than the YouTube Screamer will. So yeah, Euphoria is another really versatile pedal. You get everything from the Eric Johnson type tones to the Larry Carlton, Robin Ford type tones, everything in between. Alright, so now the Wampler Tumnus. So this is a Klon type overdrive. Everything's set to middle right now, with both pickups enabled. Right, neck pickup. Bridge pickup. So one thing about the Tumnus, yeah, it's not as high gain as any of these other three that I just demoed. So it's not as high gain as any of them, but yeah, otherwise it just sounds dark to me. So yeah, so I need to like turn the treble up on this. It's not as dark. So yeah, everything turned up like this. I mean, the gain in the middle will be fairly fairly low gain actually compared to these three. But then if I turn the gain up, middle pick, both pickups up. Actually too much treble. I'm going to reduce that a little bit. Good. The bridge interesting, okay. Yeah, I love just the tone of the Tumnus is really nice, even at higher gain. That's the thing. At higher gain, it's not muddy or anything, but the one thing is I do have to turn up the treble a little bit for my guitar, maybe because I'm using P90s and humbuckers. Yeah, single coils I don't have to as much, but I'm using P90s and humbuckers, so I probably need to turn up the treble a little bit. Otherwise it sounds a little bit too dark for me, a little bit muddy. But once I do that, even at higher gain, it doesn't get muddy at all. So that's really nice. So yeah, I think the Tumnus is nice type of tone. It's not as high gain as the others, but yeah, I like how you can turn it up and it doesn't get muddy or dirty or anything like that. So the Klon, I would say, is a very interesting circuit because yeah, you can almost use it as a boost, but with a little bit of grit, but just a little bit of grit. It's not too much like these guys are, but just a little bit of grit onto your tone and your signal with a lot of boosting. So that's what I think of the Klon. I think that's is a pretty nice circuit. It's very tastefully done. So anyways, yeah, very, very unique circuit. I think that's why everyone likes Klons these days. Everyone has at least one on their, or one clone, right? Clone with a capital K on their signal chain. It's just a really nice boost overdrive type of circuit. Although the fun fact is that I think the Klon is also a hard clipping circuit, but it doesn't sound like a hard clipping circuit. All right, last but not least, the Timmy. I've never actually heard much of the Timmy. I think this is a new overdrive to me, but I have read a lot about it. So this is apparently supposed to be pretty transparent, maybe more transparent than the Klon, the Wampler Tumnus, but maybe comparable to the Euphoria. Maybe it won't add too much mids to my signal. We'll check it out. So right now, everything at noon: bass, gain, volume, treble. Let's try it out. All right, so both pickups turned on. Neck pickup only. Bridge pickup. People say the Timmys are really good for stacking. Both the Klon's really good for stacking too, but the Timmy's also really good for stacking because you can hear it doesn't actually add too much coloring to my signal, nor is it too much gain. So this is with everything in the middle. I guess if I set this to the gain setting, right now it's on the clip setting, if I set it to the gain setting, both pickups on. Neck pickup. Bridge setting. Okay, so that's the gain setting. If I turn it to the bass setting, this is both pickups on. Neck pickup. Bridge pickup. So yeah, that's the bass setting. Obviously adds more bass. But yeah, the Timmy is very interesting. Doesn't sound like it adds too much. It doesn't add too much coloring to my signal, nor is it very high gain, at least at the normal settings. So if I turn up the treble and the bass, what happens here? Both pickups. So obviously that adds more bass and treble to the signal, as you would expect. Let's turn the gain up and see what happens here. Okay, so yeah, the gain setting would definitely add some more grit, but I would say probably not too much. It's probably similar to the Wampler Tumnus. So I would say it's similar to the Klon in that it will give you a bit of dirt, but not too much, which makes it very stackable. So yeah, I'm liking the Timmy. I think that the Timmy is sort of similar to the Klon type, except probably even more transparent than the Klon type. So yeah, if you compare, this is. Right. So that's the Klon type. Timmy. Let's put everything back. Yeah. Yeah, it's even more transparent than the Klon. And even if you turn up the gain, it'll add a little bit of grit and dirt, but it's not overwhelmingly powerful. Won't color your tone tremendously, the same way that these two, and then this on different settings probably will sound more powerful. But yeah, I'm really liking the Timmy. I think the Timmy is a very versatile overdrive. So yeah, it's also very stackable as well. I think the Klon and the Timmy are probably the two most stackable out of these overdrives. So yeah, very, very interesting. There you have it. The tube screamer type, very good for cutting through solos. Gives you that, you know, powerful mid-range that will cut through the mix. Then you have the full tone OCD, a full range overdrive that can go all the way to distortion and fuzz territory. And then the Wampler Euphoria, which will give you the Dumble type sound, touch responsiveness and dynamics, but it's also hugely versatile. So it can do everything from give you like a light amount of gain to close to the full range territory, but not really. Not that much distortion, but it'll still give you a lot more distortion than you would expect. And you can put it on the crunch territory, open territory, and it'll give you these settings. They'll give you a lot of versatility. It'll sound very, very smooth. Yeah, almost like a tube driver type of sound. So very, very versatile overdrive for many different use cases. And then the Wampler Tumnus and the MXR Timmy are both lower gain, more transparent, good for boosting, I would say, type of overdrives. Very, very stackable. I would say the difference is that the Klon, not quite as transparent as the Timmy is, but the Klon adds a really nice type of musical sound to your tone. It's hard to describe, but it's I think that's why a lot of people just want to leave the Klon on, because it just adds this this extra thing to your tone. It's almost like a tone conditioner in that sense. So yeah, a lot of people use the Klon almost just like as a boost, but with a little bit of coloring. The Timmy, yeah, I think it's just a nice little bit of grit if you want it, but not as maybe not as colored as the Klon is. So yeah, this is like, Timmy is like the least coloring on your tone, the most transparent, and also least amount of gain. So I would say it's got elements of both the Klon and the Euphoria in it. It's probably almost as versatile as the Euphoria, and as transparent as the Euphoria, but not as much gain as the Euphoria, and more similar to the Klon in that type of light grit that it can provide. So yeah, that's my summary of all these pedals just for my ears. Alright guys, and now just for fun, I'm going to try to stack these overdrives together and find out what the sound is like. So I'm going to use a compressor because otherwise this will be too loud, and I live in an apartment. When you're stacking overdrives, it can get very, very loud. So yeah, like I said, Timmy's probably one of the best for stacking, so is the Klon. Euphoria actually might be good for stacking too because it's also pretty transparent. And then these guys I think will color the tone too much. But yeah, I have a compressor turned on. Lower the volume a little bit. Okay, that's like barely any dirt at all, right? So we turn up, actually let's just leave everything here. Put it in the gain mode. turn up the Klon, stack this is the Klon or the Tumnus on top of the Timmy. Two of the most stackable overdrives together, the Klon type and the Timmy together. Still not really that much gain, right? Yeah, that goes to show like these two pedals are used mostly just to add a little bit of grit, a little bit of dirt, but not too much. You want to add a lot more, well, we can turn on the Maxon and see what happens in addition. About, right? So yeah, just the Timmy and the Wampler Tumnus by itself. Those are both pickups, and now the neck pickup. Okay, and then that's a decent amount of overdrive tone, but not too much. But now when we add in the tube screamer, it's going to really push it over the edge. So both pickups together. Yeah, now that's where we're talking high gain here. So yeah, that's a very high overdriven tone once you add in the Maxon on top of that. I wouldn't stack more than 3 overdrives together because then it's going to be way too much. So that's probably going to be the limit. I can stack these 3 together, and these are 2 of the more transparent ones, more stackable, and then add 1 of these more colored ones in, and then you pretty much got it. So yeah, that was a tube screamer plus the Klon plus the Timmy. We can also do Klon plus Timmy plus Euphoria, and see how this one's like. Putting some both pickups together. So actually I think the Euphoria will add more gain than the Maxon will. Yeah, so the Euphoria can actually provide more gain, It's the mid-range isn't quite as humpy as the Tube Screamer, but it can actually add more overall gain. So that's a unique thing about the Euphoria, and you can always adjust that to actually have even, yeah, added more bass as well. So yeah, that's the Wampler and the Timmy stacked with the Maxon Tube Screamer type, and then the Euphoria, which is the Dumble type. So you can see how both those sounds. Of course, if you want to go even further, you can stack the OCD on top of it, and this is probably going to be the most highest gain sound. So both pickups together. So yeah, this one definitely, I mean, the OCD by itself is, yeah, that's already pretty much equal to what we just heard. So, I mean, stacking this one on top of the Tumnus and the Timmy, that's when you get really, really high distortion in gain. So you hear what that really sounds like. So yeah, well, I guess if I wanted to have a lot of sustain, then and if I wanted to sound really, really loud, then yeah, I can stack the OCD. But honestly, the OCD by itself is already really loud. So that's kind of crazy. But yeah, it just shows you how stackable the Tumnus and the Timmy both are. They can play well, reasonably well with these other three. So yeah, these other three I think can really be the base of the overdriven sound, and then these two can really be very versatile in terms of where they go in the chain, where it can stack with these other ones. So I think all 5 of these overdrives are nice. I haven't tried all the other overdrive pedals I mentioned, of course. I have tried the Oxblood Germanium before, the Super Fat Mod, the TOD9 from Maxon. I've also tried some other MXR ones as well, but I think overall these 5 are the ones I'm going to stick with. All of them are pretty versatile and have their own type of, they fit in their chain in their own way, right? They fit a certain slot in my sound. So yeah, guys, that's all 5 of these overdrives compared. The Maxon TOD9, the Full Tone OCD, the Wampler Euphoria, the Wampler Tumnus, and the MXR Timmy. Let me know what you guys think, which one you like the best. Yeah, and if there's any pedal that's not on here, of course, there's so many pedals out there in the world. Let me know which ones that you guys like and would recommend to try out as well. But I think I've got most of my bases covered. Full range type, a TS type, a D type, a K type, and then the Timmy type, I suppose. Yeah, that's, I think, the main types of overdrives on the market right now. Yeah, let me know what you guys think, and always appreciate the feedback. And as always, thanks for watching.